You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right
Yeah.
Critical.
Hang on, let me... I'm going to change some words here. All right, ready? Adults with religious confusion who truly believe in a higher power that created us and actually cares what we do with our penises and vaginas should be treated with care, compassion, and kindness, but must not be officially affirmed in their confusion, no matter how sincerely held. Fuck you.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
I don't know if you've ever seen the lightning bug when he flies around with a flame of light coming out of his behind. The lightning bug got a flame coming out of his butt.
It's a beautiful night tonight. All the sodomites are out.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Are you praying?
No.
Oh. Welcome to Sarah Talk. I'm Sarah.
I'm Becca.
And we are fucking angry.
Super fucking angry.
Okay, we'll get into that in a minute.
Not about the ponytails.
No. So, from the chat, thank you guys for hanging out in the Facebook with us again. No, it's always a ponytail kind of night, but I've kind of pulled mine up into like a little messy bun-ish sort of thing.
Oh, you graduated to a messy bun.
It's long enough now that I can just throw it up there and call it good.
I have to teach you the angry bun. A bunch of the girls that I used to work with.
I need it tonight.
When we get really angry at work, we just take our hair straight up on the top of our head. And you knew we meant business if our buns were on the very top of our head. This was obviously before I
chopped it all
off.
Do you want to give a quick update on the hair?
We're definitely going to do it.
And I get to cut it?
And I think, votes were that you were going to get to do it. So we'll do it soon. I think we've got some stuff lined up, and then we're going to have to...
That could be for our 100th episode.
You're right. We could totally do that.
So this is episode 98 tonight. We are going to talk about things that piss us off, and then hopefully the guys from the Gayish Podcast will make us laugh a little bit, because God knows we need it.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to have T. Rogers on, who's
exciting.
a humanist chaplain that we talked about having done like the first atheist invocation in the Florida chamber. So that'll be cool. That'll be next week. But then we don't have anything planned for our 100th episode.
We could
so that would be
totally
like
do
a
that.
perfect. Yeah. If you do want to like send us some fun things to play for our 100th episode, that would be cool. If you want to like record us a little message on your phone and, send it over to us, or don't call now because I have the phone patched in. But under normal circumstances, when we're not live, if you call 224-40-SARAH, you can leave a voicemail for us, and we can play that on our 100th episode. But things like,
I feel like, I don't know, I almost feel like we need to do something to Sarah if we're going to shave my head.
Stop.
Anybody have any suggestions of crazy things? We're not cutting your hair. Don't worry. We won't touch your hair.
Well, it needs trimmed, but not shaved.
You know anybody that'll come wax her eyebrows live on?
It's been a long time since I had that
you
done.
need some help.
It so bad. So yes, if you want to like call and tell us what you like about the show, or I don't know, make an inside joke, something, you're welcome to give us a call, leave us a voicemail, or text your voice audio file from your phone. You can text it to 224-40-SARAH as well. We have some new merchandise. We retooled our merch. We're back on Cafe Press, even though that's kind of where I started doing merchandise. Like back in the day, I used to do.
Yeah.
So I created a website for my old school district's music department back before schools had websites, but I had like videos of band marching competitions, all kinds of stuff, right?
Just people to geek out.
But then also like we took the logo from that website and made shirts and hats and stuff. So Cafe Press is what we're using again now. And what I like about them is they offer like so many more product options. Like you can get a flask with Jesus on it. Like
right.
That's
Yeah.
or Trump. The are you tired of winning yet? Trump graphic. So go to SarahTalk.com, click merch, check all of that stuff out if you'd like. So,
you're gonna make me talk about the bad thing, aren't you?
as usual, we're going to start in darkness and gradually get less awful, but mostly still awful. So hey, if discussion of school shootings is something that's going to bother you, come back in an hour and you can laugh along with this. But here we are again, right? This time in Parkland, Florida, a gunman opened fire at a South Florida high school Wednesday, killing 17, sending students running for their lives. 17 victims were transported. And this is a little outdated because I was typing this. So much information comes out in the minutes and hours and days after this stuff. So if the numbers are a little off, it's because I wrote it a couple days ago.
Yeah.
17 victims transported to among the medical facilities in the area: Broward Health Coral Springs, Broward Health North, Broward Health Medical, and Boca West Medical. And 2 of those died in the hospital, 2 of the 17. A further 15 victims died at the scene. So here's what we know. The suspect, a 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz, was taken into custody off campus. He slipped out of the school after a shooting by blending in with other students who were trying to escape. So this kid goes in to, and this is the freshman wing building, right? Goes in at about 2 o'clock-ish, pulls the fire alarm.
Dan says he can't see the episode number.
Oh,
Wah, wah,
that means I
wah.
have to get up. Okay, so he goes in, he pulls the fire alarm to get everybody to rush out into the hallway, as you do when the fire alarm goes off. And like every other fucking shooter in a school, with an AR-15 starts mowing people down. Like, sit on that for a second while I fix the camera.
That's better, sort of, a little bit. What's going on with the laptop? There you go.
There's a really sweet camera system. I'd like to buy one of these days, but
Yeah.
for the meantime, we'll use our laptop that doesn't have enough hard drive space to even update itself. Okay, Cruz had been a student at this school, but he had been expelled.
Yes.
For disciplinary reasons. One news source reported that one of those reasons they believed to have been that he had brought weapons of some sort onto school property before. The red flags were everywhere. You look at this kid's Instagram account, and it's just guns, guns, guns. I like guns. Killing animals, shooting at animals. Guns. Police had been called out multiple occasions to go deal with this kid, shooting the neighbor's chickens and shit like that. He was adopted. And both of his adoptive parents died. I'm going to say his father died last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a
and
while.
Then his mother died in November.
Yeah.
Which is, from all accounts, when the last straw that broke the camel's back fell.
Right.
He had been going to therapy up until that point, they said, until his mother died, when he stopped going, went to go live with some other family. He'd been teased in school. Every fucking story we talk about has all the same check marks.
Yep.
Every fucking one of them. And we've done nothing. Now, we're going to talk about what that something is, what I think that something should be. And we're going to talk about arguing about guns and is it mental, all that shit we're going to talk about. Again, I feel like we just fucking did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's start with this. Because if you haven't heard this, I want you to hear these sounds.
Hands, put your hands up, guys. Please. Put your phones away.
That's the sound of police entering a classroom, sweeping the building to make sure that there are no shooters left in the building. Now, I have a 7-year-old, and I think I listen to the whimpers of these children, and I see their hands shaking in the air on this video because they're fucking terrified. Let those sounds sink into your soul. Police rush the school, clearing classroom by classroom like this. Students were texting friends and parents. When does this end? Is it time yet to talk about our gun problems? Really getting tired of having to fucking do this. I want to come in here and laugh about stupid things religious people are saying. I want to talk about the advancements of the LGBT community that are happening. I don't want to talk about this shit anymore. I'm tired of it. More than anything, I'm tired of the garbage conversations that are happening right now on all of my friends and my social media accounts. Why are we still so divided on this issue? How many more lives will it take to prove to you that, regardless of what other issues are involved, and there are others, like mental health, that easy access to assault-style, military-style weapons is part of the problem? It is. These aren't protection rifles. They aren't hunting rifles. They aren't handguns for personal protection. No, every time one of these incidents happens, it's always this military-style, assault-style weapon. Why are these even available for civilian purchase? If you want to yell back at me, you can call in 224-40-SARAH, but I'm really pissed off, and I'm not going to entertain any of these outrageous devil's argument nonsense garbage. We're not playing devil's advocate. I've had enough of those conversations, and I don't think they serve to move the ball forward.
No, absolutely not.
They're useless. So if you have real-world solutions you want to talk about, fine, we can talk about that. But we're not going to argue about things that, like, oh, you know, cars kill people and Big Macs kill people. Shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
Okay.
Your argument is stupid, and I'm done with it. And that's what I think this thing has changed. This event has changed me.
You're telling me.
In ways that I can finally, draw it out. I can tell you exactly what has changed in me out of this. And that is, I used to be a reasonable person. I used to be able to go on. Michael Bryan, one of our listeners, and I love to have these arguments back and forth about, you know, and sometimes we play devil's advocate against each other and, make the arguments back. I'm done with that. I'm done with those games. That's what's changed. I want to see change. Period. I'm done. And again, it's people on social media. You know, they're quick to say, "Oh, it's not about guns. It's mental health issue too." How many times have I said this? Of course, it's not all about the gun. Nothing is a monolith. How many times do we say that?
Right.
This is a multifaceted problem which will require a variety of approaches to solve. But we haven't done one of them. And the minute you say, but mental health, what you're doing is you're downplaying, you're distracting from the problem that guns do play in this. They do. There's no good argument against that. They do. And more often than not, the people that downplay the gun problem vote Republicans into office. And those Republicans want less government, less taxation, less of everything. You say you want to fix the mental health problem? Then pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Make it accessible. Make it affordable. Fund campaigns to destigmatize mental health. Stop calling people crazies. But don't trot out this mental health bullshit as an argument against gun control and then also be unwilling to do something about it. And if you go on any social media right now that has parentheses R parentheses at the end of it, that's what you'll find. No, it's not the gun, it's mental health. And then you look up their voting record. I need a drink.
You need more than a drink. You're scaring me.
I'm fucking over it.
No, I know.
All right. I haven't even been reading the comments.
Well.
Should I even take my own advice? Don't read the comments. Don't read the comments.
No, they're not bad. We have sensible people in the chat, so our comments are okay.
Yes, we do. Dan said, okay, sorry, I skipped Michael. Michael said he wasn't even allowed to have a backpack on school rounds. Right.
Right. And you can walk in there with a bag with a gun in it. Hello.
Yep. And yeah, the FBI failed. The FBI knew about this kid. They knew it was a problem, and they failed that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody failed this kid.
Everybody failed this. We all have this blood on our hands. Yep. We are all complicit in this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Dan says, I'm a gun owner and advocate. I'm highly trained in the use of in multiple types of firearms and still know that no civilian needs to own a weapon of mass killing. There is absolutely no legitimate reason for a civilian to own an AR-15 or any other assault rifle in America. Gun regulation is needed, and it's needed now. Well, hold on, Dan, because that's not an assault rifle, you see. We need to quibble over what an assault rifle is before we can move the conversation on.
I hate that.
Don't you?
I hate it. People are dead. People have been assaulted.
No,
Let's start with the ones that do the most damage and scale back. You can't go, I've said this a million times and it makes me sick that I have to say this. You cannot go into a car dealership and buy a war vehicle.
Right. You can't buy a tank.
Why can you go into a gun shop and buy a gun specifically made to kill people?
Right. Right. Before I go into this argument, Michael, you are sensible. I just know that you and I love to have that devil's advocate, the devil's advocate game. Like
and there's
we play that out.
nothing wrong with that.
That helps me. Like that helps me build my arguments.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
but
this, that time that's over.
But this situation is far beyond anything like that. This is people, our children are dying. This happened in my backyard.
Yep.
I knew kids when this would have been
before we get into any of the details. Please, you tell us about this area, about this school, about.
So this is Broward County. This is where I grew up. Parkland is not. I didn't grow up in Parkland. Parkland is the like cream of the crop of like the rich people of Broward County.
Wasn't it voted the most like safe city in Florida or in America or some shit last year?
Yeah, I mean there's multi-million-dollar mansions. Heron Bay. So this Parkland is bordered on the north side by Palm Beach County. And then the west side is the Everglades. And the Heron Bay neighborhood community is just right up against the Everglades. And it's just multi-million-dollar homes. We're talking like Disney Golden Oaks style homes.
Lord.
Money.
Okay.
Money.
Right.
I worked in Parkland. I worked for a landscaper that landscaped these homes. These people would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to have somebody come out and put their plants in front of. Like, this is where I worked.
I knew that you worked in a landscaping company, but I had no idea.
I worked
that this
10
was
minutes from this school.
Jesus Christ.
I knew people that went to the school. I had friends that had kids that went to the school. I had friends when I was in high school that went to this school. If I had chosen to go back to a public school, this would have been one of my choices.
Wow.
It's one of the biggest schools in Broward County. Most of the schools average between 15 and like 1,500 and 2,000 students. This one has an average of 3,100 students. So it's a big school. It's one of the newer schools. It was built in 1990. So it's, open campus, humongous campus. And I just think it's a safe neighborhood. The community, like, you think it's Parkland. Everybody there has money. Everybody's living the dream. There's like 3 golf courses, I think. Just, and I just, it boggles my mind. But it goes back to that point that it can happen anywhere. You think you're safe and you're not.
Yep.
But yeah, I grew up. That was my backyard. I'm sitting here, I was on my way home when it happened. I was on my way home from picking up our son at school, and Russell called or texted me and said, "Hey, there's an active shooter at Stoneman Douglas." And he right now is down there. And he was at one of the restaurants where he has friends also 5 minutes from the school, and they had kids in the school at the time. And I'm just like thinking to myself, he's got to have that wrong. That it can't be Stoneman Douglas. There's no, like, my brain could not compute that it's Stoneman Douglas, because there are schools down there that are bad schools. Like, I mean, one of the school that I was in the border of that would have been, I was in their borders was like a 2 on a 5 scale rating. C school, I think.
Right.
And like, there was always reports of gang activity and stuff going down at these schools. When I was a teenager.
Right.
This was before there was, active shooter drills and lockdowns and, stuff like that. But you knew the bad schools.
Right.
This was not a bad school. It took me a while to go, okay.
This is where we are right now.
And now I have a child who's in a prestigious school.
Yep.
And in a prestigious school that's not in a good area. And so that's all I've been thinking about. Like, how do I send my kid to school?
Yeah.
And feel safe?
Yep. Especially when you see people posting shit like, my 5-year-old came to me and I don't know how that was.
I think it was an 8-year-old with the shoes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those shoes.
Came to me and said, I need new shoes. And the parent said, what are you talking? Like, what's wrong with your shoes? Like, are you being teased because they're the wrong shoes?
Right.
No, we did an active shooter drill at school, and I'm afraid if a bad guy comes in, my light up shoes will give away my position. That is not something a fucking child should be thinking about.
Right. Yep. I know Davey very well, Michael. Right around the corner.
Right. Like, and this isn't fucking Pine Hills, Orlando.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is a good neighborhood.
Yeah. There's like no... I know we've seen it. There's no connection between growing up and living in a bad area and doing bad things. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No.
What I'm trying to say is you have all of this stuff and you feel like you've got it good and the community's great and you have a great school with great programs and great teachers
safe.
And the students are amazing and they have all of these things going on, and then all it takes is one person that's just not being taken care of.
Right.
That if he had been taken care of from the beginning the right way, if the warning signs had been acknowledged followed up on. So many cracks this kid slipped through. And he slipped through the cracks in a school that's in a neighborhood that is filled with money and resources.
Right. Exactly.
That's the part that pisses me off.
Yep.
You know, you see a kid in the middle of the ghetto go into a crappy school where they don't even have money to give the kids lunch.
Yep.
I can understand how those kids slip through the cracks. This kid, there's just no explanation for the amount of red flags that were thrown up. And it still got to the point where there's 17 bodies laying on the floor. What is it going to take?
Mm-hmm. And again, if we're going to say, and we should, that here we see all these red flags and we did nothing. And then we did nothing in an environment where an 18, 19-year-old can go down to the gun store without a permit, without a license, without registering, without testing.
Nothing.
Put down the money
and walk out
with a gun. Or if I own a gun, I can sell it to you.
Yeah.
Did you see the video of the guy who set up the lemonade stand?
And the cookies and the lemonade and the gun? And
to show how easy it is to buy a gun, as easy as it is to buy a cup of lemonade.
It's maddening. It's absurd. It's sickening. It's disgusting.
So I've been arguing with people.
Of course you have.
Like, some of my friends' moms are posting this picture of a shirt that's like, you know, the child asking God, why didn't you stop the shooter and save our school? And God says, I'm not allowed in your school. That kind of bullshit.
That fucking seriously has to stop.
Yep. And
because God, if God is so almighty that he can do anything. So who cares if he's allowed in the fucking school or not?
Right.
If he does exist and that's his reason for not saving those children, he's a stupid fucking cunt.
Yep.
Just like the rest of the right-wing conservatives that want to hand out guns to 7-year-olds.
So another change in me is that I am arguing with more people now.
Yeah.
I'm arguing with people that I would not have before engaged. People that I would have said, all right, well, listen, I know what you mean by that, and you're my friend's mom. Like, we're not friends. We're only acquaintances, and it's not my bit. No, fuck you. I'm done with it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I engaged hardcore with this one in particular that I'm thinking of. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I got back like, oh, well, you're intolerant of my beliefs. No, your beliefs are shitty. And furthermore, nobody said God can't be in school.
Right.
Your child is free to pray.
Right.
In this, sitting on the ground in the classroom, praying for their life.
Literally.
They can do that. Nobody said they can't. They can bring a fucking Bible in their backpack. Nobody has a problem with that. The problem is when the school starts saying, we're going to do a Christian prayer, and it's going to be over the PA, and you all have to participate in it.
Right.
Or we're going to do it, and if you don't want to participate, that's okay, but you have to, like, set it out. And now you're an other.
Right.
And we only do Christian prayers. We don't do Muslim prayers.
Right.
Right? That's all we've said. You can have your God in your brain and your heart, whatever, in the school. So don't give me this, we don't allow God in schools bullshit, because that's completely missing the point. Then I saw some ridiculous dumbass try to argue that we should just arm the teachers.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
That'll solve the problem. Then when crazy shooter guy comes in, then at least they'll have a fighting chance. And I can understand where that logic comes from. I really can. Because if your mindset is bad people are always going to do bad things, bad people are going to get the guns anyway, no matter what you do, and bad people are going to come in and kill you, then I understand how you connect that logical conclusion to, I need everyone to have a gun for just in case. Like, just because maybe they can, at least, they're going to die anyway. They might as well have a fighting chance going down. I understand where that comes from. It's bad logic.
Who's going to supply the gun would be my next question. Is it going to be the teacher's responsibility? Because we already know that the teachers are buying half of the supplies they need for the school year because most of the time the kids' parents can't afford it.
Right, we're
and
buying
then
the rest.
We're not
You and
paying
I.
the teachers enough to even cover their supplies that they need. So now you've got to have a teacher that's going to have to worry about getting a gun and having bullets and not confusing the bullets with their chalk. And I guess they don't use chalk anymore. They're graduated to the whiteboard. But
so let me tell you about this. You gonna think we'll give the teacher some guns a good idea? In 2016, there was a teacher who went into the bathroom, had a holster on, took the holster off to pee, set it on the top of the toilet, fucking forgot it. And multiple students came into that bathroom, in and out, saw the thing. Thank God they reported it to their parents, to the teachers, to administrators, told an adult, I saw a gun in the bathroom, and nobody got hurt. But if you want to play the what-ifs game, well, there you have it. And they're not trained.
Right.
Teachers are not trained. And furthermore, at $23,000 or whatever they're making, like, for the money they get paid, they're not gonna. It is not their fucking job.
No. Their job is to teach our children.
Yep.
Their job is to send our children home with an education.
And if they educate them properly, then maybe they'll grow up and vote for common sense things in our government.
Because right now, the problem is the government. The people that are in the offices that are making these laws or avoiding these laws or whatever brought us to this point where a 19-year-old can buy a gun and walk into a school and shoot up 17 people. That happened legally.
Yeah. Right.
So
don't give me this criminals gonna get gun stuff. This was all legal.
So the laws need to change. Our son goes to a school during school hours. There's one way in, one way out. If somebody
during school hours, right? But there are other times when the gates are wide open.
That's the thing. After school hours, there's programs that go on, and the gates are open because parents go in to get. And I think about that all the time. I'm fortunate right now that he doesn't have to be in aftercare. But what happens next year when he decides he wants to try out for drama and he's got to stay at the school until 7:00 at night to do rehearsals? Right.
Or how about this? Or this came to me the other day. If we're going to talk about security and safety at schools, and you're worried about people mowing down a whole bunch of kids all at once, at the end of the day, all the classes get in a giant line and walk out to the car rider pickup and all stand on the curb together. If ever you wanted a group of kids all in one place, that's probably it. And then, this is true for our school, love to hear about yours, because I know there are schools that do it better. They just assume the car pulls up, the door opens, the kid hops in. That must be somebody they know. They don't know if that's an authorized person picking them up. If it's the same parent every day, and the teachers that are out there change, they rotate around and stuff like that, but they don't fucking know who that kid's going home with.
I've thought about this a lot because kids get kidnapped. And a lot of times when kids get kidnapped, it's because there's been a parent that's been estranged because there's something going on. And there's a court that has said this child. So I'm 6-year-old Johnny is standing out there and he's in first grade. Kindergarten is the only class that is monitored for pickup at our school. So first grade Johnny, daddy's been gone for 2 weeks and daddy shows up to pick me up. Oh, hi, daddy. Jumps in the car.
And
next thing you know, there's
Georgia
an Amber
somewhere.
Alert. He's 3 states away.
Yep, exactly. All right, we got off on a tangent.
Yeah, we did. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, Dan, you're absolutely right.
No shit. Dan says, I'm so disappointed. This is the week where both Sarah and Becca both need a straw stuck into a handle of rum. Stacy says, I just don't know what's right or wrong or what the answer is 100%. I can't wrap my head around all of these tragedies. And I would add to that, yes, absolutely. And that's where all the confusion comes from, right? People don't know what to do.
Right.
But here's an idea.
Gotta do something.
Do something. I don't care if it's the right thing, the perfect thing, just fucking do a thing. Nobody's done a goddamn thing since Columbine. Not a single fucking thing. You know what they have done? Trump came into office and undid the Obama era regulation that helped prevent mentally ill people from purchasing guns.
They did do something. It wasn't the government. The school boards in the schools that can afford it have started to do drills for active shooters.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
done.
They're teaching our children how to run for their lives.
Yep. How to hide in their own school.
They're teaching kindergartners. I was terrified the first time our son came home and said, oh, today we did a drill where we all had to hide in the closet. I said, oh, a tornado drill?
Nope.
He says, no, because we had to lock the door and shut the lights out and be really quiet because if there be just in case a bad guy ever got into school.
Yep.
And I'm like, holy fuck, they're teaching my kindergartner how to hide to save his life.
Right.
What is this world coming to?
Michael says, my school had hang tags with student numbers they had to match for pickup. I know other schools do like the parent has to come in and sign them out. Others do like the student has to verify like, yes, this is someone that I know or whatever, but then that doesn't solve your problem of the dad whose recent court order said you can't come near the child.
I mean, we do have like it's just so weird to me because of the pickup thing, but we do have to sign a paper that says these are the only people that are. So if somebody were to come and sign him out early,
right, then you have to verify. So
but I could just call anybody and say, hey, you need to go pick up our son.
Yep.
And here's what time you need to be there, and just tell him that I told you to come get him.
Yeah.
And so that's scary.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I remember there was one day, it was like the first week of kindergarten, where they sent him to aftercare.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we were sitting there waiting, and he never came out.
Yes.
And your parents were in town, and we're like calling them, hey, did you go pick him up?
Yes.
And they're like, no. And they found him, but it's terrifying. There was another time where he jumped on the bus.
Yep.
And I was sitting there waiting for him, and he got on the bus instead of coming out to the car pickup.
Yep.
I mean, there's all kinds of things that go through your mind when your kid isn't where they're supposed to be. So you shouldn't have to worry about whether or not somebody's going to walk into their school with a gun on top of all of that.
Right. Okay. So
maybe we should abolish public schools, Michael.
Send them all to Jesus camp. Jesus school. Oh, so there's another argument while we're on the God in schools thing, right? So I've been having arguments with my friends' moms about, God in school, right? This wouldn't happen if we hadn't kicked God out of our schools. Well, it turns out people bring guns into parochial schools and shoot the place up too. As far back as, what was the one that I found? It was like 1809 or some shit. 1891 in a Catholic school. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I have these conversations with people, when people hear my position, they assume that my position is the gun is the problem. The gun is the only problem. I want to take everyone's guns away. That's what they hear, right? It's obviously more nuanced than that, but that's what they hear, right? The other side hears the right say, it's not the gun. It's never the gun. Guns aren't the problem. Laws won't fix crime. Why do we fucking have laws? And it's the mental health that's the issue we need to be fixing. Guess what? It's fucking both. It's both. And the minute we can all come around the table and agree to just that, we will be ready to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, the gun argument. Well, I need guns for self-defense.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. In fact, statistically, and here's the other thing. These statistics are gathered by third-party organizations, like nonprofits, that we have had to create to address this stuff.
They don't have a tie to either side.
Because our government
won't
refuses to allow funding to go towards studying gun violence. Or they ban even talking about it.
I saw. So I forget who it was, but somebody posted something and it said something like, if guns don't kill people and people kill people, then why are we arming our soldiers and sending them to war? Why don't we just send them to war?
Right.
Send people to war. Like,
yeah. Yep.
Like,
there's so many great like meme arguments.
I hate that argument.
Okay, so I need guns for my self-defense. I need to protect me. I need to protect my family.
Listen, just get a Billy Banks Tybo disc and learn Tybo, and you can knock anybody out with a palm to the forehead, and it'll buy you enough time to get away. I promise.
So the data that we do have shows that you are much more likely to use that gun to commit suicide, to harm yourself, to use it for domestic violence. Why don't we have, there should be a fucking law while we're controlling guns, and that's what gun control means. It doesn't mean take them all away. It means make it harder for people who shouldn't have it. If you have any domestic violence on your record, that should be a red card. No guns for you.
I just had an epiphany.
Okay.
Conservatives hear the word.
My Bible already.
Conservatives hear the word birth control. And they think these people don't want babies. But the Bible says you have to reproduce. Then they hear gun control and they assume that it means no guns. I think they don't understand the use
if the word
variance
control.
of the uses of the word control. Go on. I'm
so
sorry.
You're more likely to harm yourself, harm someone else in the home, or to have one of your kids pick up that gun and shoot your other kid in the head.
Oh, Stacy.
All of that is much more likely than for you to actually need to use that gun to protect yourself in the event of an attacker or a home invasion or a whatever.
Right.
That's just the statistics, kids. There's no bias in that.
Yeah.
That's just it. That's the data.
Right.
People who have guns in their homes, their gun is more likely to shoot themselves, or that one of their kids picks it up and shoots the other kid. My dad carries a gun, and I am fucking terrified about that.
Yeah.
I have a 7-year-old.
That goes with him places.
And I see these news stories of these kids that are like, oh, look, and they think it's a toy, and they pull the trigger, and then their sister's dead.
Yeah.
I see those stories. Do you know how many times my dad has needed to pull out his pistol to protect himself? Fucking 0! Now let's talk about the good guy with a gun.
Can we talk about the paranoid freak in the comments with the gun?
Stacy, I love you, but we're going to have an intervention, honey.
Okay, good guy with the gun. Go on.
Right. Good guy with...
Wait a minute, Kyle. I'm too paranoid to own a gun. I can barely make a frozen pizza without injuring myself. Me too, Kyle.
I can't wait till the second half of the show. Totally. This is going to be great. Hang on. I need to rum myself up here. Are you guys enjoying Drunk Sarah shows better than the morning show?
Yeah.
Since we switched from coffee to rum.
I'm going to have to go to the liquor store before next weekend.
I know. How are we going to do that? Well, we have a guest in studio. Maybe we shouldn't get shithouse drunk.
We don't have to get shithouse drunk, but...
We should get nice liquor for our in-studio guests.
I tried that one time. It was shit.
Last week.
That was horrible. My mom bought me fancy chocolate wine. If you missed it, it was nasty tasting like cough syrup, and I didn't know.
If you missed it, it's probably because you're not a patron. There was like 5 minutes of bloopers at the end of that episode for patrons.
It was really funny.
Okay, good guy with a gun.
I'll try not to interrupt.
I would like, yes, this is a lengthy scenario that I have spent time working on.
Go through the script.
I want you to consider the following scenario, right? You think, I'm going to carry a gun because if somebody comes into my kid's school and I'm volunteering, then I have my gun and I'm ready. Right? So consider this possible scenario. Person A is at a grocery store checking out. Person A is legally carrying a legally purchased gun strapped to their belt. When person A goes to pay, he pulls back the jacket, revealing the gun to reach for his wallet. The cashier, seeing the gun, not knowing whether person A is reaching for the gun or the wallet, freaks the fuck out. Person B in line sees all of this go down, pulls their gun on person A. Now a woman comes down the aisle and turns the corner to go check out. And all she sees is person B pointing a gun at person A. And she pulls her handbag out of her purse. Handgun out of her purse.
Say that again.
She pulls her handgun. I'm angry. She pulls her handgun out of her purse and points it at person B. Now you have C pointing a gun at B, pointing a gun at A. Okay? Now you walk into the store with your good guy with a gun t-shirt. No training. No license. No permit. No registration. You just picked up a gun down at local Guns R Us. But you're going to be the fucking hero in this. Now, what you don't know is anything. You walk in and you see a bunch of guns drawn. Who's the bad guy? Nobody! In this scenario, nobody was the bad guy. Nobody was trying to commit a crime. All you see are guns drawn. If any one of those people were black, they're dead. And you're going to be the fucking hero coming in, good guy with a gun. Yeah, let's arm everybody. That's the solution is more guns. We should all have guns pointed at each other. Are you fucking crazy? Do you hear yourselves talk? So my face is red as my shirt.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wore red today because this is how I feel. I'm angry.
Is that my red shirt or your red shirt?
I don't know. Somebody's red shirt. I think it's mine.
I think it's yours. I think mine is a V-neck. I don't remember.
I don't even know anymore. Okay, next. We kind of tackled this earlier, but let's argue about what an assault rifle is. Okay, listen. My dad and my grandfather hunted.
They had shotguns.
They used a shotgun. They used a rifle. They have to reload after each shot. Deer haven't changed in the last 100 years that I know of.
But evolution.
Jesus Christ. You don't need an assault rifle to take down a goddamn deer.
And if you did, what are you doing with that deer when you're done with it?
Now, my dad also shot archery. I shot archery. And archery, like, I loved archery. I loved competitive shooting at fucking targets. And the targets were shaped like animals, right? I hated hunting. Absolutely hated hunting. It was boring as fuck, sitting out in the cold, waiting for a deer to walk by who never walked by.
I missed the first sentence there, and so you said targets were shaped like animals, and I thought of the store.
Oh my God.
I was reading the comments. No, I don't need any. I'm good.
Okay. But so listen. This is not a hunting weapon.
No. I think we've established that.
And if you're that bad a hunter that you need to rip off 45 shots in a minute just to take down the deer, if you're that bad,
find a new hobby.
Maybe you should find a new hobby. That's a good idea.
Oh, man.
So, as Dan said earlier, and we posted an article in the group. If you're not in the Facebook group, you should be in the Facebook group. SarahTalk Podcast listeners, join up the group. There was former military, current military. Did you read that article? The guy that was like, "Look, I trained on these weapons."
Oh, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And what we did was we shot at targets. And those targets were not shaped like deer. They were shaped like humans.
Yeah.
Because we were being trained to kill people.
Right.
Which is what these weapons are for.
Yeah.
You can't say that cars kill people, so we should ban cars too.
Yeah.
Cars were not designed to kill people. These guns are designed to take a life away from a thing. That's its function. But we can argue all day long about what an assault rifle is or isn't. Is it an automatic or a semi-automatic or what? I don't care. Don't care.
Right.
Don't care. It's not something that any citizen needs. Do we have to make a definition at some point and draw a line?
Probably.
Sure.
But can we stop letting all of our children die first before we do that? Let's prioritize here.
Right. We have about 10 minutes left, so I need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I have a couple more points that I'd like to make in this. The Facebook chat is talking about training. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. If you're going to... listen, I have to take a whole class in school to learn to drive a vehicle. Then, and I have to be like with an adult for a certain length of time too. Then I have to go down to the government and say, "Dear government, I would like to operate a vehicle on a regular basis. May I please have a license to do that?" And they say, "Yeah, after you pass this test."
Oh, you got to take 2 of them because you got to do a written test first.
Exactly. Then you got to come get in the car with me and drive me around.
Without
because
killing
I
me.
want to make sure that you know what the fuck you're doing before you do this. Now, the detractors will point out that driving, you see, is a privilege. And gun ownership is a right. And if that's your position, then I think you should re-examine your position. Because that's a terrible way to frame it. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with the idea of gun ownership being this right that we all just get because we exist in this country.
Especially when this right, as they so like to point out in the Second Amendment, that amendment was written about muskets. So if you want to own what you're rightfully...
Should be a musket.
You should have a musket.
Yep. And again, I will post this in the group. If you haven't watched Jim Jeffries' gun control clip from Bear, it's an amazing fucking clip.
I'm going to go do some
he
research
goes through
about
each one of the arguments. It's great.
When driver's licenses became a thing. Because I know we didn't have them always.
Right. So you brought up the Second Amendment. Yeah, let's talk about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is outdated.
Extremely.
It's outdated. Everything else has changed. All of the factors have changed. In order to form a well-regulated militia being of importance to our survival as a union. Well, first of all, it has the words regulated in it. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to regulate the purchase of guns. We want to make it harder for people who are dealing with PTSD and depression and kids teasing them on the fucking playground. I want to make it hard for them to get guns. That's regulation. That's gun control.
Yeah. And those people shouldn't be forming a militia anyway, so it shouldn't affect them.
Right. And on the militia, on the order that our tyrannical government, if there was ever a time to form a militia,
no fucking
and go against
shit.
our government, don't you think it's right now?
Yeah.
Okay. If we were going to do that, I would like for you to keep in mind that the government has tanks, drones, and fucking missiles. You and your AR-15 have fun with that. Good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Right.
Again, this was written back in a day when the government had muskets and we had muskets.
We were on equal playing
And
ground.
if you needed to take out the government, you could roll up with your muskets, pop a couple of guys, and take your government back. It doesn't work like that anymore. You want to go the opposite direction? The opposite direction is, well, if the government has tanks and missiles, and we should have tanks and missiles to be able to protect ourselves.
Can you imagine? Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know what? We used to have the right to own people. That used to be a thing.
Yeah.
We had a protected right to own another person. And at some point, we said, hey, you know, maybe that's not a great idea. Like, okay, I think we need to stop owning people. This isn't any different.
No.
This is no fucking different.
Actually, yeah. It's a little different because we weren't murdering the people that we owned. We weren't using the people that we owned for murder. This is far worse than owning people.
I'm going to draw a chart for you.
You going to have time for that?
I got 5 minutes. Hang on. I should have written it out. Okay. There's a scale. And the scale ranges from guns.
Did you just really spell guns with a Z?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you haven't seen how I've been replying to people.
Jeez.
On one end of the scale is like, guns for everybody. Everybody gets a gun, right? The other end of the scale is take all the fucking guns away, melt them down, and repurpose the metal for things that we need to build. I don't know what that is. Take all the guns away, right? That's two ends of the scale. Everybody gets guns. Nobody gets guns. Okay? And I talked about this at the top of the show. I used to be right there. Mm-hmm. Right there in the middle. I don't know, you Facebook land probably can't see it. I'll scan it. I used to be right there in the middle, right? I was like, okay, listen, I'm not trying to take all your guns away.
Just the bad ones.
Just trying to take the bad guns, the big guns, the scary guns. I don't want people that shouldn't have guns to have. But listen, with each child that dies, and each day that passes with no action, not even the wrong action, not even bad action, not even action in the wrong direction. With each death and each day, I move closer on that line, further towards, fine, then just fucking take all the guns away. I'm getting closer and closer to that every day. So you need to do something. You need to act. And I don't care what it is. If you want to address mental health, yes, let's do that.
Please.
Pay for it. Write the law. Raise my taxes. Do it. If it keeps my kids safe, it's worth it. If it keeps your kids safe, it's worth it for me to pay for that. It's worth it. And we need to start giving a damn about each other and each other's kids first. That should be first. That's before I like my guns. I need a break.
Do I need to call somebody and get you some blood pressure medication?
Maybe. Probably.
Honey.
I'm going to have therapy tomorrow.
Do you?
No, it's next week. Tomorrow's Sunday, by the way.
That's right. We're having family therapy tomorrow.
Yeah. Care about each other, please. You fucking care about each other. That's all I'm asking. Do something. Stop arguing. Stop bickering on Facebook about what a fucking rifle is, and just do something.
Said it in a post. If you're not fighting for change, you're complicit, and this blood is on your hands.
All right, I'm going to throw it to a break.
Okay.
And I'm going to get
another bottle of rum.
And I'm going to get our guests on the line. And we'll be back. And I promise I'm going to cheer up. And we're going to laugh. And we're going to have fun. And we're going to talk about the Florida man. And things will be bright and cheery and better.
Yay.
I promise. We'll be right back. This is Sarah Talk.
Today's health-conscious society, you have many beverage choices. But do you know what's in all of them? So much sugar, sodium, and things you can't even pronounce. Dihydrogen monoxide. What's that? Sometimes you wish you just had a simple, more elegant solution for your beverage needs. Introducing H2O, the first ever chemical-free thirst quencher. H2O is simple, simply composed of 3 portions of 2 elements, hydrogen and oxygen. H2O means chemical-free, unlike water, which is filled with all sorts of shit. When we tested H2O, we found traces of no other elements. So pure, the bottle may as well be fucking empty, with all the same nutritional content as a breath of cool mountain air. First widely featured on Goop.com, actress Gwyneth Paltrow revealed that she exclusively uses H2O for her vaginal steaming process. After all, why use water when you can steam it with H2O? So now we invite you to run out to your local garden hose and drink that shit. Remember, it's not water, it's H2O.
H2O bottled by Flint Bottling Company in Flint, Michigan. Product not actually endorsed by Goop or Gwyneth Paltrow. Please do not use H2O for vaginal steaming, or better yet, please do not steam your vagina. H2O is actually just water. Water is a set of molecular compounds. It's a chemical. Everything is a chemical.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 41, 31, 13. We took a left on Raccoon Street.
Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I realized
he forgot his homework.
I hope I don't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
I was feeling so alone. I'm glad I asked for help. Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386.
Want to join the conversation or tell Sarah she's wrong? Email producer@SarahTalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. Now, more Sarah Talk.
You can also tell me I'm wrong in the Facebook group chat. You can send a text message to that number. Okay.
How are you doing over there, babe?
I'm better. I'm doing all right. Doing all right. We got a Florida Man coming up.
You really I
have some rum.
Makes me uncomfortable when you get angry because we don't fight.
I know.
We're just so copacetic all the time. So you scare me when you get angry like that because I'm like, I was seriously feeling uncomfortable over here.
Just tired of it. God
I know.
damn it.
No, I know I am too.
That's all. It's all it is. Just I'm frustrated.
It just makes me nervous.
All right, so we are joined right now by Mike Johnson and Kyle Getz. They are the hosts of the Gayish Podcast, which is a hilarious podcast. If you're not listening, you should definitely check it out, and hopefully they will bring some hilarity and levity to our...
Please.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
So, let's start out with
really...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, you really started with some light, easy topics for us to follow up on.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
Yep. See, that's generally, we start low and we climb out of the darkness. That's kind of how I line up the topics.
I spent a whole bunch of time explaining to Kyle that the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment has nothing to do with bears.
or bros.
My dad has a shirt that is a grizzly bear holding a gun, and it says, "I support the right to arm bears."
Oh, Jesus. In this case, I don't know that if we're talking about large penises, maybe arming the bears in this case.
Oh, man. That was no.
No?
No.
No? Oh, all right.
She's trying to get a bell out of me. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
You're going to have to try a little bit harder. I get one.
Okay, so let's start out with just some background. Who are Mike and Kyle, and how did you guys come together to decide to make a podcast together?
Let's see. We get this question a lot, and I try to decide if I'm going to make something up or tell the truth. But I guess I'll tell you the truth.
I love it.
Mike and I met randomly because someone said, like, oh, you need a ride to a place, Kyle? Get in this dude's Jeep. So I highly suggest you get it in any stranger's Jeep because it usually works out pretty well.
Well, let me tell you about a stranger that got inside my Jeep last week, and then I called Orange County.
Unless it's because someone snuck into or broke into and tried to hotwire it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was not our case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been friends for like 8 years or 20 years or something, I forget. And then we just were talking. I'm not an impulsive person, and we were like, we should do a podcast. Great, got a mic and put it between us, and just started saying shit. And I guess people like dick jokes, so that's good for us.
I love dick jokes. Yes,
you know.
So
it's
go ahead.
Really just as easy turning it on, hit record, and see what happened, and it's blossomed into this whole big spiel. We love our listeners, and it keeps growing, and we're having so much fun doing it. So it's been great.
I often say that, like, that's one of the things that I like about podcasting, right? Like, I have a radio background, and in order to work in radio, you have to follow certain rules, and you have to get a job in radio. And any schmuck can plug a microphone into their computer and make a podcast. Like, I think it's cool that we have this new way to be to have a voice, to have like make your own damn platform. I think that's cool.
Yes, some schmucks are schmuckier than others, though.
True.
So talk about, if you would, some coming out experiences. We did a segment a while back. It's been a while that we've had some people come on and like really talk about their experiences. But that's one thing that, I know our audience enjoys. Mike, maybe we can start with you. You came out at 30. What was that experience like for you? I mean, I don't want to say, we're not old. I'm like 38 now, and I'm feeling pretty old. But that's kind of later in life ish.
Yeah, and actually, no one was more surprised by my announcement than my then wife. So it was really a pretty eye-opening experience for everybody. But yeah, I mean, I had the traditional, grew up in a red part of the country, really thought that I was going to be a straight guy, and tried as hard as I could to just stuff all those gay feelings way down deep inside and not let them out. And then about 30, maybe it was I was having a midlife crisis, or whatever the equivalent is when you turn 30, that I needed to be my authentic self, and I started making my way toward coming out of the closet and leaving my wife and starting this new, better life.
So I came out like twice, I guess. Like, I mean, I was married once and had to come out to her, but that was different because I didn't understand what trans was at that point. Like, it was just, I was a cross-dresser. It was a thing that I did, not a thing that I was, not who I was. And then when I had to come out the second time and with my wife Becca and say, okay, you kind of knew this about me,
right?
But it's more than that, and I have to do something about it. Like, the fear that just poured through me of that is the best you can walk out excuse I could give. Like, that you could have left, and I would have been like, I totally get that.
Right.
You have no desire to be in a relationship with another woman. I totally get that. I understand that. Oh, I thought you were going to go with that.
Well, what, me?
Yeah,
okay. Well, I was going to say, well, that's a little different, honey, because you weren't coming out and telling me you were attracted to men.
No.
So back to the guest.
Stop.
How did that like destroy your relationship with her? Did you remain friends?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
How did that
we were barely friends to begin with.
Okay. Well then,
I'm kidding.
Wrong question. Sorry. Moving right along.
No, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, we divorced relatively amicably, but are certainly not friends.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Now, Kyle, you came out at a younger age, but you're from Texas, and we
so sorry.
We give Texas the most shit for being a garbage state. So, how's being gay in Texas? What's that like?
That's a tall order coming from Florida.
I know, right? Listen, we have a whole segment called The Florida Man that we're going to do in a minute that shows just how garbage we are.
I always describe Texas as your heroin addicted sister. Like you love her because she's your sister, but you just want her to get better. So like, I get trashing on like, So I grew up in Houston, in the suburbs, and I think the biggest thing, like everyone was religious, of course, and I wasn't, and so people were like, "Oh, you're going to hell just because you're not religious." So they didn't even know about the whole sucking dicks thing, and they were already like, not so. I came out when I was in college, and the only reason it actually took me that long is one conversation I had with my dad where he like sort of implied that everyone gets weird feelings every now and then, but they'll go away. So I kept waiting. And never went. And finally I was like, okay, this might be a real thing. So that's when I came out.
Wow.
And you two have children, right?
We do.
Yes, we do.
Like, how strongly do you try to not even give sort of vague hints about their future, right? Like, I'm not quite.
Listen, it drives me fucking nuts when people are like, "Ooh, he's such a cute boy. All the girls are gonna be."
Take your heteronormativity elsewhere,
shove it up your
please.
ass.
Like
Right?
that's no.
Yeah. No, and we're very like, and it's weird too because again, I grew up in a real small town where gay was a bad word and nobody was gay, in outwardly, and you would say things like that, like like you would just expect that I can't wait until you grow up and start bringing girls home for prom and like that kind of stuff, like, but I know that like I don't do that. I've never done that. I don't have that in my brain to be like, I think one of these days you're going to bring someone special home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Well, and we have a very our son has not ever been one of these kids to like, he has friends that have like several girlfriends, like some of his some of the boys he hangs out with at school have a handful of girlfriends, and he's never been one to be like he has friends that are boys and he has friends that are girls. Only this year has he started like really talking about one girl in his class, but I don't know if it's anything more than like that, just like she's just his new friend. It's hard to tell with him, but we don't push that. Like I know a lot of parents, if a kid came home and was,
"Ooh, you have a girlfriend?"
We're just not that way.
We don't do that shit.
And
in the back of your head, are you going to be real disappointed if he turns out cis and straight?
No. If he's happy,
damn it, we failed.
That's the thing. Like,
well, I do that mom thing where I think about my kids and their future, and I do catch myself like imagining, our son bringing home. But the minute it pops into my head, my son bringing home a girlfriend, I immediately follow that up with, what if he brings home a boyfriend?
Right.
Or what if he brings home two friends? Or
right. Or what if this week it's a girlfriend and a couple weeks later it's a boyfriend?
Right. Like, I mean, I don't know. I was talking to a friend of ours about their son, who's about the same age, and he's been wanting to wear nail polish lately. And
I haven't heard this story. Let's do it.
And all of her, like one of her friends was saying, "Oh, he's going to be gay."
Stop.
And I'm like, he is not old enough to. You can't bring that into it. This is an outward expression of his personality, not of what his desires will be when he's old enough to even understand what that is. So I hate that when people push anything on a child, whether it's, "Oh, you're going to be gay," or, "Oh, you should be."
Right. Well, let's segue then, Mike and Kyle. That's a great segue into stereotypes, right? Like if you're a male and you have any interest in anything that is not like hyper masculine, well, then obviously you're gay, and that's somehow a bad thing. Like I just don't. I don't get it.
No.
Yeah. Our entire I guess we should have also mentioned our podcast. We talk about gay stereotypes, so we like both do and don't fit various stereotypes. And when you're mentioning the nail polish, like that's something that like why do we care who wears nail polish? Right. Why is that a gendered thing? But we've just decided that like I've actually always wanted to wear nail polish, but I never have done that.
But you should get to it.
It's fun.
Evil. There's what is that? Sinfully something. I'll send you the nail polish brand. It's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay. Yeah,
it's expression.
I need to just do that.
Like like who cares what people? And that's the thing. Like we teach our kids, who cares what people think? But then
I remember being a teenager in an ultra conservative household, and I wanted to wear black nail polish.
Oh, that's the Satan.
And my mom would not have that. So. It's like, okay, but it's nail polish. It's, like, it's just...
Do you have a knife in here?
I do. I don't know why. I just found a knife on the desk.
I'm going to keep the live stream going. For those of you watching on the video, please don't click off.
No.
Just in case.
I think that was from cutting my huge
okay, so
kiss.
Anyway. Stereotypes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the hard things for me is not relating to... any of the men, like, men are not supposed to be emotional and sensitive. And those are some of the things that are supposedly feminine. And those are a lot of things that I feel. So, I mean, like growing up, even watching 90s sitcoms, every single dad in every 90s sitcom is a dumb idiot that always makes mistakes and like drinks beer and grunts. And like, I was like, well, that's not really me. I'm glad we're getting better representation in media around like you can be so many different kinds of dude and it's not just one thing. And I hope we keep showing people that they can be so many things and it has nothing to do with their gender, or maybe it does, or it has nothing to do with their identity or
right. Yeah, and part of your question about stereotypes is the value judgments that come out of that. And it seems to me that all of the negative reactions that people have are really based in misogyny. That gay guys are viewed as, it's not because they're gay that it's bad, it's because they're doing feminine things, they're doing girly things, and for that to be bad is just misogyny. American culture is so misogynistic in so many ways.
Absolutely. And I think about like in my own journey of giving up that male privilege, that the male expectation, and saying like, look, that's just not me at all. And who fucking cares? You get all these people that are the religious zealots that are like, gays are icky and I don't like gays and they shouldn't be allowed to get married. They're not hurting you. Nobody's trying to fuck you in the ass. Calm down.
You're not that cute.
No, right, exactly. No. Most of them are not.
Like, hey, you know what? Here's a great idea. Let's have people love each other, and we not give a shit because it doesn't affect us. You know what affects us? People coming into schools and shooting up our kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let's put our priorities in order here. Like, who cares?
Yep.
Yeah, and people that care about masturbation is the most ridiculous. Just touch yourself a whole bunch is great. Maybe not in public but whatever. But like the people that are worried about masturbation instead of guns shooting at people, right.
Right.
I grew up Catholic. It was going to make me blind.
Oh my God. So talk about growing up Catholic. Hey. Oh boy.
I mean, it's Catholicism. It's fucked up.
That sums it up nicely.
I like to tell people I'm a recovering Catholic.
Yes, I used to say that about my ex-JW roots, that I'm a recovering Jehovah's Witness.
Kyle and I were just talking about J-dubs today.
J-dubs.
God.
Easygoing belief.
No. I mean, I think that sort of hierarchical structure, male-dominated, patriarchal influence of Catholicism really helped me stay in the closet. I really think they bear a lot of the blame for how late I came out.
Mm-hmm. So
at some point, you grow up and you realize, I'm not going to church anymore, and really a lot of that's pretty stupid. I'm going to stop caring.
Right. So so the Catholicism, was that like a, like on the, again, I come from a very like bland vanilla Christian,
vanilla Christian.
It is. We just had one of those weird denominations that are like, what's a First Christian Church? Like, I don't know what that is. It's just a basic.
Oh, you went to Chocolate Chip Inn, didn't you?
Every weekend.
I just can't hear vanilla without thinking of sex, and so
Jesus. Well, I mean,
but
really,
JWs are only allowed to have sex missionary style. So,
well, what the fuck was I saying?
I have no idea.
I don't either. We looked at Catholics with with the side eye that like all believers
everybody
do. Like,
does.
Everybody looks at everybody else and goes, "You're not a real Christian."
Mm-hmm.
But like the Catholics were the ones that were drinking and partying, and like their kids were the ones that were having the beer drinking parties at 14 years old and stuff like that. Like, that's just what we saw Catholics as like, yeah, okay, but you don't really believe it, do you? Like, you don't act like you believe it.
There's a proud history of alcoholism in the Catholic Church. It always surprises me when you read like studies about support for gay marriage, support for LGBT issues, and then you cross-reference that with religion, that Catholics, for the church being so backward ass about things, Catholic, the people who go to Catholic church actually tend to be more liberal than average. They are more supportive of gay marriage. They're more supportive of trans issues, that kind of thing. And that squares with my experience. There's this sort of people who go to Catholic church don't really believe a lot of what the Catholic Church believes, and everybody's in on it, so they all just get wasted to deal with the cognitive dissonance.
That might be something I can get with as I chug my rum. So coming out then, did either of you have any like negative or traumatic experiences? Like, how did your families react? That sort of thing?
This is Kyle. My family, my brother was amazing. He was very supportive. I told him right before I told my mom and dad. He was super supportive. He was great. Telling my parents was not great. And I was lucky enough that I had the foundation of, they said they love me no matter what. I stayed I kept living with them while I was in college, but, they were still supporting me. And they basically, we just kept fighting and discussing and arguing and all these things when during the months after I came out, and they basically wanted me to go back in the closet or pretend I wasn't gay, and I wasn't going to do that. And they said, where the conclusion we came to is, we will then just drift apart and we eventually won't have a relationship. And that was where they left it. And I really do think they were the ones that made that decision and thought that's where they were going to be. So it was really hard during that time. I was lucky enough that they have since come around. And, a few years later when I had my first boyfriend, and I was really nervous to talk about him to my family. And when I told my parents about him, they had ended up coming further along than I thought, and they were really supportive.
That's awesome.
He had came home for Christmas one year, and then we broke up, so everything worked out great. But other than that, my family part is now in a really good place.
What blows me away about Kyle's story is that his family isn't religious. Like so many families, when they have issues with gay kids, it come down to fundamentalist Christian issues or Muslim issues, Jewish issues, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But Kyle's family is basically like
nothing. I don't know.
Right?
We weren't. My parents were both raised Christian. But we never went to any kind of church at all. So it's not even Easter and Christmas Christians.
Wow.
We were nothing. And so, I think everyone assumes that religion, I think religious beliefs, even if a person isn't religious, has, infiltrated all of our society. So we don't realize some of the religious things that we then adopt as part of our life system. But I think it just speaks to the fact that, you can grow up hearing negative things about gay and queer people and believe those, and it's not necessarily about religion. It's just about what people have been taught to believe.
Right.
So yeah, my family still had a hard time, even though we weren't. It wasn't because Jesus was gonna,
It was more the Texas than anything.
My parents are both from the East Coast, so it wasn't. It's not like they're like diehard Texans or anything. So yeah, it's just they thought your dick should go in a vagina. It belong.
Okay, so let's move into conversations about language. Where do I want to start? We'll start with the name of the podcast, Gayish. Why Gayish? Where'd that come from?
So we brainstormed a whole bunch of names for the podcast, just sort of riffing and threw a bunch of stuff out. And a couple of the ideas had the podcast, Mike and Kyle's Gayish Adventures, or we talked about gayish a lot and then ended up thinking that was a nice, concise way to sort of sum up our idea that nobody's really totally gay when you wrap up all the stereotypes and things about them. Nobody's really straight. So we're gayish.
Now, the first version of that, the Mike and Kyle's Gayish Adventures, that sounds like a video series that you may have also produced. Mike and Kyle's Gayish Adventures 2, Mike and Kyle's, yeah.
We had a whole list of terrible names that I'm very glad we didn't pick. But
so what I'm hearing is that you're not denying the video series.
Thank you. I was going to say that.
Oh, we may steal that idea and create a video series. So if you see that next week, it was our idea first.
Oh, that's great.
just
We have been talking about other podcast ideas that maybe we'll try pursuing some other projects this year. Do you have any other adventures besides SarahTalk?
This is pretty much what we do. I don't know. Like I've done a lot of things over the years, a lot of different things, including some naughty websites. Once upon a time. Okay, listen.
Jesus.
Here we go. In
unison.
In the early 2000s, I ran my own computer repair business, and I did like virus removal and computer repair and upgrades and custom building. And that was all a front for the pornography business that I was actually running. So I can't say I didn't film any.
Oh, Jesus.
Primarily I promoted other people's websites and collected revenue from the sales that were made from those promotions. So I did a lot of that once upon a time.
Should we get into porn? Do you think that was good?
That's what I heard.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Mike and Kyle's Gayish Adventures.
That's the third project. We're going to get so many ideas. There's going to be so many spin-offs from this.
So, I mean, porn is another one of those things, like masturbation, right? Like you just don't do that. And we're just so fucking repressed as a society. Like we talked about a story last week, right? We talked about the story about the Orlando club that was fronting as a therapy place and was actually a sex club. Like, why is that wrong?
It's consenting adults. It shouldn't.
First of all, that sounds hot.
Right?
Right?
I need to go see my therapist.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
I'm into that.
Why is paying for sex okay when there's a camera?
Yeah.
We call it porn.
Right.
But paying for sex when there's no camera is illegal prostitution.
Yes. It makes no sense.
No.
Why can't we just run the world?
Right? Right. Look, let people fuck, okay? Let people fuck whoever they want, however many people they want, whenever they want. Let's do it safely. Like that's, I mean, if you're gonna have a place that one could go,
regulate consensual sex.
Jesus Christ! And we're full circle. Okay, so let's talk about. We'll stay on language. Let's talk about the word queer. There's another podcast that I listen to, and it's called Very Bad Words. Very Bad Words. I think it's what it's called. I'll look that up and post it.
I thought you were refusing to say the podcast name. Like, of the things I've heard you say already, it must be real bad.
No. I mean, he invited me on to talk about this because I heard him say he did an interview with someone, and multiple times I've heard him say that we've reclaimed the word queer. Like, it's done. It's a done deal. We've reclaimed it. And every time I heard that said in that way, something in my brain fired a neuron that went, wait a minute, I don't know that it's as widespread as you're making it out to be. Like, when I hear, and we can talk about this in general too as a community, but like when I hear people in the community talking about the labels and the language and all of those things, I would love to see queer reclaimed as our label, right? We can get rid of the alphabet soup. I'm okay with that. Like, it's useful because there are many different identities underneath the umbrella, but I think the umbrella needs to be a word, and queer seems to work.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that, and I feel like I'm like more slowly making my transition into that word, like using that word. Like, I've said that I'm gay for so long that queer, I completely agree with you that if we all said we were queer, then it's like, oh, it's not that I have met a gay person, haven't met a lesbian, haven't met a trans person. It's
right.
Like, oh, I know a queer person, so I get, like, you just don't fit into the stereotypes of what gender or sexuality should be.
Yeah.
I know someone like you, like, it's cool. Like, so I feel like right now I'm saying gay and queer together a lot, and with the hopes of making it feel more like, ideally that's the word I want, but I need to make it feel like it's mine, and I hope that comes soon because I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much, I'm later to the party on this one. I recognize that. I think the word queer for me has such, I guess, a painful or pejorative overtones to it that I haven't quite made peace with that yet. And so I identify as gay and really will continue to, I think. There was a bar here in Seattle that just opened within the last year or so called Queer Bar, and there was kind of a buzz about that. Like, is that acceptable? Not, to be a public-facing name of a bar. Are people ready for that word? In liberal hippie Seattle, everybody was fine with it, but I don't think you could do that in a lot of other cities.
Texas, anywhere in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that was kind of my point. Like, there is, and maybe this is a generational thing. Like, I don't know where you divide up the pie chart here, but there are a lot of people for whom queer is still an insult. Is still, it's still in the same bucket as somebody calling you a faggot. It's got this angry, negative connotation to it. And to hear them say, like, oh no, well, we've reclaimed that now. That I think it was Dan Savage that was on his show at the time, and they were like, yeah, absolutely, that's our new word now. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute, because I don't think everybody got that memo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we, like, fag is like another word that I think I'm a little bit more on board with that word than Mike is.
Yep. I don't like the long form at all, and I only like the word fag if it's followed by stag or hag.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. The word faggot, like the full thing, is like I can't think of that as being good, but fag, I don't know.
Right.
It feels great. It feels nice.
British cigarette.
Yeah. In my community, tranny is that word. And I
better be talking about a transmission of a car,
right? Well, it's funny because early in my transition, I was out at a restaurant with a friend of mine, and I said something about, like, "Oh, it's okay, I'm a tranny," and she was like, "You can't say that," and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I can. It's me. Like, I'm self-identifying right now." Like, she was like, "No, but you can't say it out loud." It's Nicole.
You can identify it however you want, just in your head.
Yeah. And I was like, bitch, please. She's lesbian. Like, come on. But yeah, I don't know. I think language is powerful, and we look at other communities and the words that they've reclaimed and taken on their own, and completely flip the tables over, right? Like we can't roll up and say the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not my word. And I think queer is just an evolution of that. I think it's just another. Eventually, we'll get to the point where that's the word that we reclaim. I think
a word that I think is like I cannot stand is homosexual. That's a word that, like, to me, just brings up these images of people, decades and decades ago that didn't get, what gay meant, and they would like the homosexual lifestyle. Like, I just picture this certain voice and way of talking, and I hate, and I feel like when people say homosexual, it's because they're too uncomfortable to say gay. Like, I hate I can't stand homosexual.
I hate that word too, for a very similar reason. The JWs would give talks, and they would talk about like the homosexuals, you'll notice, wear tight pants. So if you're wearing tight pants, they're designed that way because the designers are homosexual and they want to see you in tight pants.
Oh my god.
Like, that's what goes through my head when I hear the word homosexual.
Totally.
Wow. Which is funny because, like, if you think about language and these words, like, that's probably the most scientific usage of the language, right? Like, in the same way you would say vagina instead of pussy, or penis instead of cock, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the actual
homosexual
original,
is
like,
like that's
the OG
scientific
word.
words. But because it's been abused by so many people, it has a different meaning. That's interesting.
I think what it comes down to is people don't like being labeled by other groups. So we were labeled as homosexual by outsiders, and then it's not. I don't think it's about necessarily the word itself. It's about who's saying it, and we want to. It doesn't matter what we come up with, but we want it to be a word we come up with or we've agreed on that we are calling ourselves. And I think so many groups go through that where they reject whatever word has been placed upon them and create their own that they have ownership and feel good about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this is
I've
also
been chewing
interesting.
the word.
Yeah.
I've been chewing on the word homosexual here while we're talking about it, and I think I'm okay with homosexual said that way, really clinically, in a clinical setting, a doctor, a research paper, whatever. It's when people say it like Beverly Leslie from Will and Grace, homosexual. Like that's when I have an issue.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about your own circles, when I think about like the community, I think we have a bit of a unity problem, and this kind of comes out of that, or is the prelude to the need for something that brings us together, whether that's a word or whatever it is. And that is things. I think about things like, people saying you aren't gay enough, or like the idea of I'm not gay enough, so I'm gonna lose my gay card, or lesbians who say that trans women aren't really women, and so then you can't be in our lesbian club. Like, am I just in a bubble that's really shitty, or do you guys think that is a wider spread? Are we dividing more than we are uniting at this point?
I think. I mean, I don't think that's a binary sort of decision. Are we
sure
unified or not? It's a spectrum. I think that we've lost a lot of ground since Trump's election, and we were starting to lose ground immediately after Obergefell, and partly it's the gay community's doing. Like, once we got the right to marry, okay, I guess we won, and then sort of checked out and stopped moving the dial. And that's really unfortunate, because it was on the heels of that then you had Caitlyn Jenner and the bathroom bills all around the country, and trans people were sort of thrust into the forefront and didn't really have the backup that they needed from the rest of the community. And I don't know. I don't think it's too late to reclaim that ground, but it definitely has suffered recently.
Right. Do you think when I think about like these social struggles, we're not even the trans people. We're not even the second to the party, right? Like, we've had black people struggling to be people, and women struggling to be seen as people, and gay people struggling to be people, and now, like, okay, here we are, and I would expect anyone who's been at the end of, that kind of discrimination, regardless of what the label is in front of it, would be like, honey, I know what you're going through, and we're with you. And yet that seems to be like you said, like, well, I got what I wanted. We're good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and gay, white, cis men like Mike and I are some of the problem people. Hopefully Mike and I are not, but I think it's easy to now, like, we are the privileged one within this queer group. And I think it's our responsibility to use that privilege to, like, we know what it feels like, exactly like you said. And so recently we know exactly what this feels like. And it's crazy to me when gay people or lesbians don't support, issues about trans people, issues like non-binary, gender identification, all of, like, we especially, you shouldn't have to be in the same community under the same queer umbrella to care about minority issues, but, like, especially because we're all part of that group. It very much frustrates me. We should have 100% support for, trans and gender, any kind of gender issues. No one should vote Republican because it fucking says in their platform that marriage is between a man and a woman. Like, it's just crazy that it's not 100% support for all of these issues together.
Absolutely. Okay, where are we at?
To take a sip of rosé to
chug my rum,
clear my mind.
We were debating whether that was rum or vodka because we were watching the live feed.
This is Puerto Rican rum.
Oh,
like direct from Puerto Rico,
right? 80 proof, 40% alcohol volume. It's good stuff.
Enjoy it while you can, because Puerto Rico's fucked.
Listen, it's like
it actually came after the hurricane. My brother went on a cruise right after the hurricane, and he brought it back for us. But it's almost gone.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
It's almost gone. Well, there you go. Right, there's another. This all comes back to what we ended the first segment with, which is fucking care about each other.
Mm-hmm.
Period. The end. Full stop.
Yep. Right.
Just care about each other. And yet, Flint still has water that's poisoning people, and Puerto Rico doesn't even have power, and we could just go on and on and on, but we don't have time for that.
Yep. And it's funny how many so-called Christians don't realize that that's what their Jesus said, and they're not doing.
Right? That's the part that pisses me off the most, is all these religious zealots and their nonsense, and here we are, the atheists, acting like more like Christians than
right. Okay, so let's do this. Let's play our little Florida game. But before we get into that, I have a story out of Florida here that didn't quite make it to the game, but I thought it was interesting enough to include that we could talk about and giggle at.
I actually expected to giggle, or do you think I will giggle?
I don't know. An unidentified female called 911 in Palm Beach County early this month with an odd request. Quote, "Hi, is it possible to get a police to escort us to a wedding because we're late?" End quote. The dispatcher says, "No, that's definitely not something that the deputies will do," and the caller seems surprised about that. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office took to Facebook and Twitter. They used this as an opportunity to educate people and said, "We know weddings can be stressful, but please, if you're late to the wedding, don't call 911. Do not call 911 unless it is an emergency." So for all the shit that I give Texas, welcome to Florida.
Now wait a minute. Listen, that Palm Beach, right around the corner from where I grew up, Palm Beach women can be bitches. So how much of a bridezilla was this woman? I mean,
I
maybe
don't
it
know.
was a legitimate emergency. I mean, this woman or person
The
who was late.
people who were trying to get there,
The
right?
people who were late, like, could their
wasn't the
life have
bride.
been in danger because the bride would kill them if they were late? I'm
Was she a bride, or was she a bridesmaid, or was she just a guest?
I don't even know who it doesn't say how these people
No
are
information on that. So
connected to the wedding.
as I speculate,
Right, third cousin, twice removed.
I'm just saying, bridezillas in Palm Beach County, watch out.
Yeah, did she have an assault rifle is what I want to know.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, so the Florida Man game. I don't know if this is going to take or not, but it's fun to do every
been
week.
pretty
So
fun.
yeah, so we'll keep doing it. But I don't know if like the bracket will continue because that's a sports metaphor thing, and I don't really understand it.
You don't understand it, so you don't know how to make it work. Is this what I'm hearing? Russell told you.
No.
to send it to her.
I understand how it works, but like, okay, so let's say we read a story 2 weeks ago. Eventually, that story could like move on each week, and in 6 months, like we have to keep talking about that one story that
Okay.
kept moving. See what I mean? Like,
So you're losing interest.
no. I think like I don't want to just keep bringing up the same story every
kidding.
whatever. Okay, shut up.
kidding.
Listen.
Uh-huh.
If you need Kyle and I to come to Florida and do something ridiculous, we'd happy to help.
Yeah, if you need new news stories,
I mean,
we
I think
we have some ideas.
We don't have a.
No, I think
there's
it's covered.
no drought on news stories.
So what we've been doing is we've been taking like 2 Florida Man stories and putting them together, and then 2 like anywhere else, not Florida. And again, I've been dealing with a Jeep break-in and a school shooting all week, so I haven't. All I have is 2 Florida Man stories.
Yeah.
But first, our results from last week. So last week for the Florida Man, we had Cannab Ass and Super Bowl Smackdown, and Cannab Ass won. Cannab Butt was the winner of that.
That was that. I demand a recount. The Super Bowl shelf was hilarious.
And on the other side, we had the Italian Mailman Hoarder and the Scottish Catastrophe.
Oh my God, those 2 were great. Too.
And the Scottish one won.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So either those will move forward, or I'll quit talking about the bracket and pretend like it never happened, and we'll just do this every week for fun. Okay, so remember, we're choosing between 2 stories here, and you can choose on like whatever metric you want. It can be the funniest one, it can be the stupidest one. It's just pick one.
Pick one you like for whatever reason you like it.
A Florida
Funny
man.
and stupid. That's me. I'm going for that one.
Okay, so our first story. A Florida man was arrested after he was caught on camera stealing exotic fish from a pet shop in his pants. Cruz,
Wait, the pet shop was in his pants?
The fish were in his pants.
You put the fish in his pants. Okay.
Cruz Garcia
Pocket
Jr.
or right into like the underwear.
It was
This
in
is
a
important
baggie,
to how it goes.
I think. So
Okay.
Cruz Garcia Jr. entered Pet Safari in Clearwater on January 9th with accomplice Crystal Dixon. Dixon quickly set to work distracting the pet store employee at the counter while Garcia worked to net and bag the fish. Actually, like, fished the fishy out, put it in a bag, and tied the baggie up.
Meditated fish.
Yes.
Who steals
Accomplice
fish?
to fish, Robert, is the lowest form of accomplice. No one wants to be known as that.
What are you in for?
Yes,
accomplice to attempted murder.
Exactly.
Oh my
It's exactly
God.
what I imagined. Like you're in prison, and
What are you in for?
yeah.
I help some guy steal fish from
There
a
was a
pet
really
store.
sweet fish.
Oh my. Okay, so
Okay.
Go on.
Now the fish. These were electric blue acaras
I gotta Google this shit.
and blue ram cichlids. I don't know what the fuck these fish are called. Anyway, they cost like $18 to $20 each.
That's all.
Is a $20 fish an expensive fish? I don't know.
No, not really. Well, you know what though? My uncle
It is if you're
had.
paying by the pound.
That's true. My uncle like had saltwater aquariums when I was growing up. He would spend like
Fancy fish.
lots and lots of money.
Got it.
So
Okay, well
I don't know.
here's what these fish are. if
I
you wanna
mean,
look at
the
'em.
fish we bought for our kid were like the most
$3.
expensive one was like $6 or $7.
So while Dixon continued asking random questions to distract the cashier, surveillance showed Garcia taking several fish from at least 2 different tanks. With nowhere else to stash the fish baggie, he shoved it down his pants, and then they both made their way out of the store. The employee was able to get a tag number on the vehicle and turn it over to detectives, who arrested Garcia on January 19th, and according to the most recent story I saw, Dixon is still on the loose. The fish were not recovered. So there's a fish thief on the loose in Florida. Of course there is.
All pet safaris have been warned. This is your notice.
Right? Do you I imagine there's a picture of her at the cashier at the counter, like the bolo, be on the lookout notice.
Yeah, don't answer her questions. She's a decoy.
She's a fish
accomplice.
If they recover the fish and they get taken back to the pet store, what are they going to say to the other fish? Like, I had a weird fucking day, man.
Oh my god!
All right, now the next story.
These are mediocre looking fish. I'm sorry.
Well,
this is
listen.
Okay, I had to look at Google image pictures of the fish so that I could make an educated decision on who wins. Go on.
Okay. Oh, that's fair. Okay, good. Now the next story, I just
want to point out. Well, I want to point out the similarities to. You sounded like Trump being like, like they weren't even hot enough for me. That you're like, I wouldn't even steal that fish. They are not that pretty.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Maybe a 4 or 5.
Those fish are 4.5 on a good fish day.
That one's a little fat.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay, so the second story, I really listen. At the end of the day, I'm gonna feel bad about doing this because you'll see why. But so I'll see you in hell. A Florida woman, Belin Aldacosia, I don't know how you pronounce that, says Spirit Airlines twice told her over the phone that she would be permitted to travel with her pet dwarf hamster, Pebbles.
God. I saw this.
But upon arriving at the Baltimore airport to fly home to South Florida, Spirit refused to allow the animal on the flight, even though, according to Aldacosia, the pet is certified by her doctor as an emotional support animal, which we could have an entire show about.
So she quickly tried to contact Richard Gere.
Can you smuggle this for me? In your butt?
I don't understand why she didn't just call the fish guy. He could have put it in a baggie and stuck it in his pants.
So she says that an airline representative suggested, among other things, flushing Pebbles down the airport toilet. Take him into the bathroom, give him a flush. Now, Spirit denies that this ever happened. So, panicked and needing to get home quickly to deal with a medical issue, no friends to come pick up Pebbles. She tried unsuccessfully to rent a car. Turns out she wasn't even old enough to rent a car if she'd wanted to. After agonizing for hours, she said, quote, "She was scared. I was scared. It was horrifying trying to put her in the toilet. I was emotional. I was crying. I sat there for a good 10 minutes crying in the stall. She flushed Pebbles down the toilet, y'all."
No, Pebbles!
God.
Okay, if you're the type of person that needs an emotional support animal, which I am as well, so I get that. Like, that's like the ultimate to make you flush your support animal,
right?
That's like, oh my god, I'm so upset right now.
Now the story is absurd, just like on its face, but yes, like it's very emotional, and I feel bad for laughing at it. So this is the story, and if you laughed like I did, then you'll feel as bad as I do. She got Pebbles after developing a painful golf ball-sized growth in her neck. In November, she learned the growth was benign, but was still painful. She withdrew from school and was going home to have it removed. She booked a flight with Spirit from Baltimore, Washington International to Fort Lauderdale. Spirit acknowledges a representative did incorrectly inform her that the fuzzball was okay to travel, but they do deny that anyone suggested that she flush it. Now, they also suggested that she could, like, let it go into the wild, which I don't know that would be much better.
Well, that was one of her statements, was she felt that the humane thing to do was just to kill it quickly,
right,
instead of to let it free out in the airport where it would just be a sitting hamster for some creature to, you know.
That's what I think about Mike Pence. Like, it's just better. We should just kill him for his own sake and, like, not just let him loose out in the world. You know, I think it's the same theory.
I
love that.
You think we could flush him? We can sure try.
I don't know. He's a big load of shit. I don't think he'd go down.
We have to find a bigger plunger.
Ugh.
Okay, after complaining via an email, she said Spirit offered her a voucher for a free flight to select cities.
Of course.
But of course she declined. And she has retained a lawyer and is now considering filing a lawsuit against the airline, which I think she totally should.
Absolutely. At the very least, they should replace Pebbles.
Right?
Yeah, with Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh, God.
I mean, how much can a hamster cost?
Could she get hit? Could she get an emotional support?
Run down to the pet store.
Could she get an emotional support pet rock and name it Pebble?
Oh,
I don't have, but I'll mix that in later.
I'm worried that this was like a Ratatouille style. Pebbles was a medically trained animal that was going to operate on the tumor. Like, I'm pretty confident Pebbles was the key to all this, and now it's not going to.
Right. Now, next week we'll be talking about a totally different news story
Pebbles
about this woman.
Had a chip, and he would circle around the tumor, and it was shrinking the tumor.
Corporations are people, animals are people, so that's cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So our choices this week: SpongeBob fish pants or a fuzzy flush.
Oh, you bitch.
Who do we want to advance?
I feel really bad for this girl with her stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't vote for that story.
You don't want to have to talk about it again?
No, it's not.
I'm with you.
I just
agree.
don't think that it meets the criteria for absurdity in what.
That's fair.
You know, like, I think it's just too low.
Okay.
And I don't want to.
And I love the fish.
The fish.
That's incredible. Any story that involves, like, someone put something weird down their pants is a great story.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, maybe it was a slow news week. Maybe that's what it was. We were too busy dealing with shootings and stuff.
I looked for
what I could find.
I looked for stories for out abroad, but I couldn't find anything.
So I think we're all in agreement on the fish.
Maybe that's what it was.
The fish story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
SpongeBob fish pants. And I didn't come up with anything for the other side, so
yeah,
that's okay.
It's okay. It's a bye week for the
like
home
Dan
team.
Like Dan said, no bracket needed.
The away team. The away team has a bye week.
Well, like Dan said, no bracket needed. The funniest stories of the week that's good enough.
That's the plan, Dan.
Okay, so before we wrap up, why don't you tell us about a little more about your podcast, where we can find it, where people can listen?
Sure, absolutely. So our website is gayishpodcast.com. We also have a Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups/Gayish Podcast. And we release weekly, typically, and pick a topic every week, and we sometimes talk about that topic.
We mostly talk about it. And it is ranged in topics from depression to fisting to drag queen. So it's kind of, we pick all over the board of gay topics.
That escalated quickly.
You know, depression leads to fisting is what I've come to believe.
Okay.
Hey,
you know?
Yeah, you do what you got to do.
I guess.
You know?
Actually, that would be a good tagline for the podcast if we ever rebrand. That escalated quickly.
Yes.
And we are on just about any podcast app you can find. It's called Gayish.
Awesome. I did not prepare Becca for this, so if you don't have an answer, that'll be okay.
Oh, Jesus. I hate it when she does this to me.
What's the gayest thing about you this week?
The gayest thing about me this week?
So this is a bit on the Gayish Podcast, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
The gayest thing about me this week is that I am crushing hardcore for Becca Hamilton on the American curling team. I'm sorry, Canadians. I love you, but Becca Hamilton. She's my new curling favorite.
I get a zit on my lip, and now she's got
stop. Now, the straightest thing about me this week, Lord, I wouldn't even know. Like, God, what would be the straightest?
Yeah, that's the hardest
idea.
one for Mike and I. We think of. We had talk at the end of every episode. We do our gayest and straightest thing of that week, and straightest is always like, did I do anything straight this week?
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
All right. So I went with a friend to the Orlando Eye the other day, and we took the kids, and then we went to the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, and I caught myself staring
a little too long
at Selena's wax boobies.
There you go.
All right.
Do you have a straightest thing about you this week? I tried so hard to come up with something that for myself, and you're right. Like, that's really hard.
I was at the Wax Museum, and Johnny Depp was there, and Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and Will Smith was there. And so I guess that the Wax Museum was both my gayest and straightest.
There you go. That's awesome.
Sarah, I'd say apprehending some hot wiring criminals was
that's pretty. Yeah. Dude, I have no idea what the fuck I was thinking when I rolled up in there and was like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing in my car, man?" I don't know what I was thinking.
You are so much braver than I am. I would be like,
"Hey, that is not bravery.
Gotta fix something." No, it's not bravery.
It's not bravery. It's stupidity. Especially after
one the same as
especially when you find the 3-inch knife up in the
right.
You could have gotten shanked.
It's true.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, no, it's bravery. It's just aimed stupidly.
Dan is posting pictures of Becca Hamilton in the Facebook chat now. You're encouraging me, Dan.
Why? What are you doing to me? You're gonna ruin a marriage. Where's your pen?
So, I would hate to. I mean, you can completely use ones that you've used recently. Do you have a gayest and straightest this week?
Mm.
You can make up. You can totally make shit up or use what you've used already. Or, I mean, nobody's
okay.
Or today.
Yeah, right. Oh, today.
Today.
So yeah, that's very specific. Yeah, I'm mostly gay. Okay. No, actually, okay. So yesterday, Mike and I were having drinks at a bar, and it was the perfect, I thought I was being set up in a test. Like, there was hockey on one TV and figure skating on the other. And the gayest thing about me is I was, obviously watching the figure skating because I was way cooler than, a bunch of idiots, that I can't even see their bodies. Why would I watch that? That's so stupid. And then the straightest thing about me is I helped a friend move today, and whenever lifting anything is involved, I feel very straight because I'm tall. So everyone's like, "Oh, you're a man. Lift this thing." The women will sort through the remotes or whatever they did. I just feel very much like I have to be one of the men.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Testosterone drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Kyle took my straightest thing of the week, I think. But when we showed up this morning to help move, one of the uncles said, "Hey, look, these two guys look muscular." I thought I felt pretty butch, pretty straight.
Oh, I was like, "Thank you." I was the opposite. I was like, "Oh, you? I don't know you."
And the gayest thing about me this week, I started drinking peppermint schnapps, on ice, and it, I don't know why that seems gay, but that seems It seems gay.
Oh no, I completely forgot. We watched Queer Eye, the new Queer Eye on Netflix.
We totally did.
I cried.
Oh, is it good?
I
love the original.
It was, oh my god, I had feelings and crying and ugly cry face and more feelings. It was a mess.
Can we do what is the geekiest thing you've done? I got a great one for that.
Okay.
I started watching Star Trek.
This is true.
Star Trek Discovery?
Oh my god, yes.
I have never watched Star Trek, and I snuck the iPad to go watch it without Sarah because I wanted to watch it.
Listen, there's a picture of 13-year-old me out there. I don't know how it was, but 13-year-old me out there, like in my mother bought the fabric, bought the pattern, and made me a Next Generation uniform tunic. And there's a picture of me, young me, wearing this tunic in front of like a wall filled with Star Trek shit. Like I had all the Playmates action figures, I had the ships, I had models that I'd put together, I had records, and I had all the stuff. Had all of it. Sold it all, but I had it all. That's
you have a problem.
Well, at least you didn't have that tragic story where your mom threw it all out.
No, my mother saved everything. Like I had G.I. Joe stuff, I had He-Man, I had all of these old the original Star Wars
have
toys.
G.I. Joe men from the 1970s.
But our kid loves them. Like that's the thing. Like so I had like the Ewok village, right, from the original Star Wars toys. Back when toys were not shit like they are now.
No, not make play sets like that anymore.
And my mother saved them and saved them and saved them, and she kept like, "Do you want these, John?" I'm like, "Just fucking get rid of them. I don't have room for that shit." And now I've got a kid that Star Wars has come back, and he's real into that, and that would have been really fucking cool to hand down.
So she got rid of the Star Wars stuff, but kept the G.I. Joe stuff that half of it was broken.
She sold a lot of it. But...
Yeah.
I think my parents still have my Magic the Gathering cards.
Ooh.
That might be the geekiest thing about me in like just my
life.
Overall life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so but Discovery.
Jesus. Oh my!
Talk about some
listen, I'm
badass
only 4
kicking
episodes
ass
in.
bitches on that show.
Yeah, don't give any spoilers. Becca hasn't watched the whole season yet.
I actually just started watching The Next Generation. So I'm like the same. I'd never watched Star Trek.
Yeah,
and I'm starting there.
I'm going to start with Next Generation once I finish Discovery, I think. I've watched some of it here and there, but...
Yeah, I think Next Gen has been the best historical series.
It's holding up really well, too.
Yeah. You know what I think's really funny? While we're off script here. You see people responding to Star Trek, like the people that come out like loving Star Trek, which is the geek, right, coming out of the geek closet.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, I'm also like a right-wing Republican and I love Jesus. And you're but this is socialism. Like how... Really? You like Star Trek is antithetical to everything you believe in.
Have you been paying attention?
Right?
Yeah, there's a gay couple on Star Trek Discovery,
yes.
And boy, the trolls came out about that.
I'm sure they did.
I'm so excited for that. I'm so happy for that, though. First of all, Rent was like a major thing in my life for my own self-discovery. Like the character Angel made it more okay for me to be like, okay, I have a male body, but I don't identify with it. Like Rent normalized that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Mark's the character of Mark that is all about storytelling, and I connected so much with these characters. And then now you put them together in my favorite geeky series. Like, oh my god, I love it. Okay, changed my mind. The gayest thing about me this week.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, we're at our time.
Yeah, we certainly are.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been a lot of fun. You definitely like lowered my blood pressure a lot. And
yeah, I feel much better.
Turned it around.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was fun.
Our pleasure. Anytime you guys want to come back, we'll totally be happy to have you back. It was a lot of fun.
You be careful what you wish for.
Whoa.
Hello. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that's Mike Johnson and Kyle Getz. They're the hosts of the Gayish Podcast. We will put links to all of that on the show notes of this episode 98.
98.
Can you believe a fuzzy fish? Dan's already
Fuzzy fish.
Dan's already making up show titles.
Fuzzy flush.
Is it flush? Did I read that wrong?
Yeah,
a fuzzy flush. I read fuzzy fish. I thought he was trying to combine the two.
That would work too. Whatever. Drink some more rum.
My glass is empty.
Well, the bottle's not,
I'm not going to do shots.
It's Saturday night house party.
We should have some music to throw in behind that.
Yeah.
Really, you should listen to Gayish. They are so.
I'm going to.
They are. They're so funny.
I was just looking at that, putting it on my. Gonna join there.
You put that in your subscription.
I was gonna say something. Okay, so next episode.
Yes. T. Rogers.
And then 100th episode.
Yep. Cut your hair.
Shave Becca's head.
Yep.
What else? Anything?
That's it.
Okay.
That's all I got so far.
Okay. Teasers. Gotta give people teasers.
Right. Yeah. Next week's conversation is going to be really good because we're going to talk about so we'll get away from the angry atheist stuff, like when I talk about my internal struggle of, do we mock religion and does that,
right.
How does that move the conversation forward versus, okay, let's grow up now and actually do things
right.
that, that move the conversation and make progress. And that's what humanism is all about. And that's what, T as a humanist is working toward.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to get that perspective from her and sort of some of the things that she's doing in our local community. She's here in Orlando. She'll be in studio, so that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We could not do this without our wonderful patrons at patreon.com/SarahTalk. And I know we thank you every episode. Do not forget that we have recently made a patron-only episode. If you missed that, you can still get it. If you become a patron now, you can get access to that episode and listen to it. Becca reads from the Bible, so that's worth the price of admission right there.
And now I have two different versions of the same Bible. Okay.
Our wonderful patrons are part-time patron Russell, Andrea, the Wayward Willis podcast, Mandy. Mandy became a patron. Welcome to Patron Land, Mandy. Josie, Harry, Jeremy, Heather, Stacy, Megan, Morgan, and AJ. Now, listen, eventually we're going to get to a point where I'm going to have to stop reading every name every week. Eventually. But we love you.
Just make a pre-recorded thing and play it.
Sure. Yeah, okay, whatever. Go to SarahTalk.com for everything related to the show. That's where you'll find Patreon links and PayPal links. Get Flat Jesus and play along with us. And we'll see you back here next week, Saturday, 8 p.m., live on Facebook. Thank you again to Mike and Kyle. We love you guys. This is Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.